here from the board. I actually forgot my little board sign. There it is, the old board sign. At the moment there's nobody watching this stream, but that's okay because it's a bit of an impromptu stream at the moment, where if you're watching this later on video on demand and playback and that kind of thing, I'm just going to be doing a grab bag sorting. So for those who are not familiar with grab bags, Pimp My Keyboards, also known as Signature Plastics, every so often they do a grab bag sale. The concept of the grab bag is very simple. When they do manufacturing runs for either their commercial customers or for custom keycaps, either by the mechanical keyboard community or anybody else, there's usually off-run as well as defective caps. Now that's typically because the machines have to come up to speed, they have to warm up, they have to get into a production cycle, and so there'll be caps at the start of a production run, there'll be caps at the end of a production run which may not necessarily meet their requirements or are excess. It's not unusual, of course, for them to produce a little bit of overrun and then hold complete sets for sale, but then if there's any extras, they probably appear to go out into a tub. Hey, how's it going, Boom Boy? It's great to see you chilling out again, all the way over in Perth. Thanks very much for joining this very random impromptu stream. So just as I was saying, for those who aren't aware of what grab bags are, so Signature Plastics puts them all into like a tub of some kind. Obviously we don't know that because we don't see it. And then when it gets full, they shove them into these 3-pound bags. Now for those who kind of aren't really imperially inclined in units, 3 pounds is about 1.2, 1.3 kilos roughly, and they sell them off. Now they used to be about $50 US plus shipping, then they jacked up the price to $70 plus shipping, and then they brought them back down again, and it ends up being, I think, 60, 65 plus 15 flat shipping anywhere around the world. So at the start of the year, I got one, and I did a live stream sorting them out, spent an hour or so just going through them and checking out what we got. And then when I managed to get my hands on one again, I had some comments asking if I was going to live stream it, and of course, here we are. Now, life is getting a bit busier. It's a bit harder for me to live stream because my daughter's getting a bit older, so whatever opportunities I have, I'll take, and here we go. So the first one at the start of the year sold out in 80 seconds. They had 300 bags and it sold out. This one in this last sale, I don't know how many bags they had because they didn't specify it, but it sold out in under 3 minutes. So similar, not as speedy, but the difference was at the start of the year, they had 10 Signature Plastic keycaps, which if you got one of them, it was a glow-in-the-dark special keycap, you actually got $150 worth of credit in the store, but this time around they didn't offer that, and I think that's kind of why there's less people that jumped in straight away and we're trying to debate about it. What we have seen, interestingly so far, of course, is that people have been able to scrounge together Godspeed, for example, for 60% keyboards out of their grab bags, because obviously it's been a very long time for Godspeed. There's been other people who've had things like Chocolatier in it, and I don't know, whatever else has happened in the last sort of 3-4 months of Signature Plastics production runs. I have no idea what to expect at all in my box. I'm not chasing anything in particular, so anything and everything, of course, is just for fun and surprise, and I am probably open to if people are interested in trading for stuff or buying, etc, etc. So let's get started. Now, thank you very much for everyone who's checking in, because at the moment it says there's actually 6 people watching. So if 6 people are watching and none of you 6 are actually subscribed, please do head over and subscribe and then get in on our 600 subscriber giveaway. There is a link in the description. It goes to a gleam.io competition where we're giving away a Movember keycap. It's in this baggie at the moment, but I won't worry about pulling it out. So, give a scale of what a grab bag box looks like. It's this big. It's like the size of my head, and you can get up to about 800 keycaps thereabout, from what everyone's kind of said. So now I do know, and I am going to be expecting that there's a soft pouch in this, because everybody who bought a grab bag this time around actually got a soft pouch as well. So I've been holding on to this for a couple of weeks now since I got it, only because, yeah, I just didn't have the time to get it open and start to check it out. So hopefully, now I'm just folding that back, and there we go. So there's my sack of caps, and there is my Signature Plastics Pimp My Keyboard pouch. It's quite nice. It's kind of like that velour feel. It's just imprint. It's just surface print. You can feel the texture on it. But if we scale it to my keyboard, my full-size keyboard, it will actually fit a 60% keyboard in it. So 60% or smaller would comfortably sort of fit in that. It's very thin though. It's just plastic lined on the inside, nothing special. And it is designed to hold your keycaps. So you can't really see it, but if I hold up to the light, I can sort of see through it. It's quite thin, but you know what? It's better than nothing, right? So let's just fold that and put it aside and have a look at this. Ooh, it was upside down. Look at that. Look at that. Alrighty. Now, just as a quick look around, there's some Godspeed right there. It looks like there might be some Valentines there. Some Chinese characters there. Got some more Godspeed. It kind of looked like there was Hyperfusey kind of. I'm not quite sure what that is, but maybe. Flipping that over, we've got a clear keycap over here. Maybe some Chocolatier down here. And some... Whoa, what the heck is that? That's a... What on earth is that? Yeah, very interesting. Alright, well let's crack it open. Actually, it might not be Chocolatier, it might be Valentine's, but the brown set from Valentine's. And let's start digging into it. Now, I don't know how we did it last time. Do we have any suggestions from the 4 people plus Bill who are lurking? Anybody got suggestions on how I should approach this? Just start pulling out handfuls and dumping them into different bags? What do you reckon? Anybody? Well, there's a space bar. So start grabbing out. I suppose we can just sort quickly by certain profiles. And then we can have a look at as we go. Now, obviously, if you guys have questions or if you just want to chat and chill out in the chat, by all means, because, well, otherwise it's just me rambling on for the entire time. Pour the whole thing out. No, not going to happen, only because it would just bloody go everywhere, and I'm not so up for that right now. Let's just grab a bag, and let's just go and say it's... actually, you know what? I don't really need to label it. It's kind of evident. So we're going to go with some DSA, I think, is probably the easiest way to start with. If it's DSA, obviously, I'm just going to chuck it in. Some tabs, X's. That's not DSA. And that one's a weird one. So what's the weather like over in Perth at the moment, Bill? Has it been a... Whoa, what the heck happened to this one? Check that out. It's like it's been hit with the printer about 6 times in completely different patterns. Maybe it got stuck and it didn't get ejected or something. But, oh, it's an Alps DSA. Okay. That's pretty cool. Yeah, what's... Alps Mount Granite. Well, was that one of them? It's kind of grey. Oh, and it just went on the floor. Spoke too soon. Maybe that's one of them. So, it's just look at that, a translucent DSA. Like, that is so cool. It's a completely clear DSA MX mount keycap. Ooh, is that going to come into focus? No. All right. Well. Not surprising, considering it doesn't have a lot of contrast in it. Some more DSA. W with an up key. Gonna start running out of space soon. been raining a bit, has it? No, it's been pretty nice in Sydney actually the last couple of days. Oh, look at that! Looks like a re-legendable. It's got a really interesting sort of clip-on design on that because the front slots in, and it looks like to be an MX stem. So that's pretty cool. Maybe I'll just put some of these unusual ones aside for the moment as I come across them. It's been really bloody cold actually. So, is it getting pretty chilly there over in Western Australia? I've never been over to Western Australia in winter, so I actually have no idea what the weather's like climate-wise. More Godspeed. Oh look, another Alps. Answer. Mata? What? Mata? I don't know. That one's a bit of a weird one. Some DSAs. It's a 0. Yeah. So you're on school holidays at the moment? Since the other 4 people aren't chatting, they're just chilling. There's some more DSA ops. DSA. That's not DSA. Whoa, that doesn't look... It's kind of like a yellowy, but it looks almost greeny because it hasn't made it all the way through the blue, so it's kind of blended a bit. Noricon, hey, how's it going? Thanks very much for joining. Yes, we do live streams. Infrequently, mind you. It's whenever opportunity arises. So, you know, when it happens, it happens. I'm glad that you can join in, because obviously the more the merrier. And thank you, of course, very much for your support of the podcast. We have been going for a while now, and it's great to know at least the community still is interested. Is probably the best way of saying that. It is a little bit of effort, of course, to continue doing a podcast on a regular basis and finding content and having people to chat to. But of course, I really do appreciate the fact that I have an excellent co-host by the name of Kevin, who joins in when he can, even from overseas. And that's true to be said of, say, Joris, for example, when he was at the EU meetup at Cooler Master and he decided to, you know, dial in on his phone. And we got to talk to Kara-san, who was pretty cool. So, yeah. School holidays have been fantastic. Well, that's always good to hear. Maybe I should have another bag and start putting in the SA caps in there as well, shall we? And then that way we can clear some of this table surface, because of course I have very limited table surface, being a tiny little work space. It's just a little IKEA table that we picked up when we moved in here a couple of years ago, after I got married to my lovely wife. It's been fun listening, getting in keyboards, kind of fun retracing events through the past. Yeah, I suppose that's one of the good things about being able to have a back catalogue. Oh, look at that. That's nice. System key. Is you can find out what's been happening, and you can find out, you know, between the sales and the drama and, you know, what the community pulse was at any given time. Because generally we try to talk about, you know, what may have happened in the week gone by or 2 weeks, that kind of thing. Still some jukebox coming up, so that's a bit unusual. I would have thought that they would have cleared all of that out by now. But yeah, I suppose with Man of Interest, Huey, he used to do on a regular basis This Week in Keyboards, but a lot of that tended to be focused more on like group buys and keyboards coming out, not so much about what was actually happening around the community just in general, or if there was issues and drama and stuff like that. I mean, sure, there's drama, there's always drama somewhere, somehow. Hey, Chokan, nice to see you join us from whatever the weather's like in Japan. Yeah, and there's good drama and there's bad drama. And we've always got to be cognizant of the community and what's happening out there. Look at that, more Alps. Look at, wow, does anyone even know what that means? Yedical. It's DSA. Yedical. Is that part of a set or something that I don't know about? Because that's a really unusual one. I don't think I've ever seen that before. And there's that Chinese one that I was talking about, 6 with the gate and the slash. So that's a really unusual set. Number of drawers. Oh, okay. That looks like it might be for like a pokey machine, maybe? I don't know. Of course, if you don't know what I'm talking about, what a pokey machine is, it's a poker machine in Australia. We call them pokies. You put in money. I suppose Americans would kind of call them slot machines. It's probably an abbreviation of, well, not abbreviation, an alternative name for that. Slot machine, as opposed to a poker machine. Yeah, cool. Throws up the horns. Is that what it means? Like, as in, rock on or something? I don't know. Is that what it does mean? Anybody? Is it Yiddish? I don't know. Just for some reason. I mean, I don't mean to be racist or anything, or religionist, but it sounded Jewish to me. Got a DCS spacebar there, as well as an SA spacebar, which I guess the SA spacebar should go in the SA bag. DCS 2, a backspace. Some of these are oddities, which I'll have to. Signature Plastic DCS is their OEM, isn't it? Is that right? Because all of these, they look OEM, but they must be DCS, but obviously they're in just different colors. So I probably need to just have a DCS bag for that as well. And that'll help clear my desk a little bit more. And then I, of course, need to have my oddities, because these things come up all the time. Like TSB, table, no, but it's got that long stem. That's not the buckling spring type, is it? It's obviously for a different switch type, which I'm not very familiar with, but I've got a couple of them already. So, look at that messed up key. Answer. Probably for a phone system. Print screens, backspaces, some F keys, dots. That one was pretty nifty. It makes me wonder what that was meant to be, because obviously the double shot in it's failed. Oh, okay. It was meant to be a double shot G, by the looks of it, and it was misplaced in some fashion. In it goes. Oddities. More DCS. F keys. All right. I'm gonna start to run out of table space. So let's get the non-standards in here, and I'll have a different bag for the Alps, I think, just because that way it'll keep it nice. That should have gone into the DCS bag. Yes, that's a DCS spacebar. That's an oddity. All right, I need another Ziploc. No, it's definitely not buckling spring. That's right. Yeah. Okay, so there's my Alps blanks, and then I need another bag. Oh, getting old, can't even lean over sideways. Which is going to be for my unusuals, which will be pretty cool, hopefully. All right, next handful. Handful at a time. 2 handfuls, maybe. I got a lot of space bars this time. Look at that. Oh, wow. This is, you can't really see it very well. It's textured, but it's really glossy. It's got a lot of flex in it, and it's long. So if you compare it, look at that. That's like a, so that's a 6257. That's like a 8U spacebar right there. And then there's an SA version of that too. Wow, this thing's huge. What is up with that? But but that profile is so low. Look at that. It's like a DSA, but it's in a weird plastic. Super weird. Super weird. That'll go into the DSA. That'll go into the SA. And that looks like it's a DSA as well. Alrighty, what have we got? Bad O's. A lot of blanks. More of these crystalline looking DSAs, which is pretty cool. DSAs. Another one of those alt things. Oh, okay. What was that set that came from Aliens? And it was in G20. Symbiote? Something like that? Because that is a G20 profile. That's the first G20 I've ever seen, and that spacebar must be a G20 to match it, I reckon, because it's got the same kind of texture to it. But it doesn't look like a G20 profile. It really does look like DSA. Is it the same texture? No, it's not. It's not. It's not. I'm going to call that a DSA just because I can. Am I going to try and get a Cosmo? The answer is no. Only because I don't have the money. As much as a Cosmo would be cool, I also don't have the blatant luck that's required to win a Cosmo. Well, that's even if it's a raffle. I'm not even sure. Is it a raffle? I don't think it is it? G20 semiotic. There we go. Now, I've actually got some more G20. Like, there's a second one right there. It's just a straight up blank. That's actually pretty cool. Which means I'm going to have another bag for it too. Config and trans. I don't keep up with a lot of the artisans only because it's one way for me to not spend money that I don't have. And Cosmos are crazy hard to get and collect. Like, I think somebody's got a picture where it's got like Cosmos all around a picture of a Cosmo. Now that's like a couple of $1,000 worth of Cosmos right there. And I know Gabe, who's obviously on our podcast, he's also a really big fan of Cosmos. The one that the guy had painted from Keypress Graphics, that was actually really cool. But it was like, what, $800 is what it was auctioned for. And that's just... That's like, you know, a good portion of my my salary right there in one keycap. So this must be Chronicler. I really want to say that this green with the grey is Chronicler or Hyperfuse. Anyone want to have a stab in the dark about? Hey, Dave Ling, welcome. Thank you for coming along and checking out our live stream today. Here is this weird ass. What is this? Why is this in my grab bag? It's not a keycap. It's like a bar of plastic. Music too loud. Well, it's definitely not my music. I don't have captions, unfortunately, and I don't have a sign language person here doing sign language, which I obviously don't know. So, you're just gonna have to try and read my lips as I talk. Key Collective teasing Neuron of Cosmos. Yes, I saw that poster that had all those Cosmos dancing, which was very much a tease. So, yeah. But it's actually great to see Key Collective is back on their feet, especially after sort of recentish events where that raffle that didn't quite work happened. So it's always good to see that they're back on the merry-go-round, back on making customs. Micro batch fugus. Fugus is another thing. I've never eaten a fugu. It would be interesting to try. However, they're not really my kind of thing. Like, don't get me wrong, I appreciate artisans a lot, especially having come from making them before in the past myself. But it's just not, like, I like the look of it, but I don't go absolutely gaga about it. One of the things for me in regards to artisans is I like stuff that's generally either realism in them. And when I say realism, I don't mean things that are like encapsulated. So I like stuff that has really, you know, highly detailed, refined sculpts. So faces and things like that, I really like. And so, for example, like the Cherokee or the Rustler, were really, you know, stunning caps for me because of the fact that they had a lot of, you know, detail and sculpt in them. Things like, for example, the Autofile, Switch Doctor, a lot of Hungerworks Studios keycaps are actually really cool because of the fact that they have that much detail. Now, I'm not saying that Fugus don't have a lot of detail, but in terms of style, you know, like how stuff is chibied in anime, or if it's stuff is like deliberately, what do they call them? Distorted, hyper distorted, super distorted, something like that. That kind of style is not really my thing, right? I like, for example, Rocket Grunt Jake's, just another keycap maker. Like the Flowers series is really nice, simply because, you know, there is a certain level of attempt to recreate realism just in miniature, and that's my personal preference. So yeah, look at that fat category key. It's like what, a 2.5, 3? It's a 3U. It's a 3U category key. What is that even used for? What is that even used by? Lots more blanks. There seems to be a lot of DSAs this time round, actually, compared to my last grab bag. Not that I'm complaining or anything, but it's look at that orange, really weird orange SA caps. Like, that's not even the carbon orange. It's just this fluoro orange. Is that from SA Camping? Anyone? Maybe? Stepped SA. Well, that's pretty cool. Next to a stepped DSA. I really need to put this thing away because it's distracting me. That oh, it was just that bar. Spotify on and thought it was my music. I know that there are streamers who put on music. For example, Tiny makes things. When she has her streams, she actually has music going on in the background as well, and people can actually request for her to play different stuff, which is pretty cool. She has like this a thing on her Twitch stream where people can earn points and gamble points and donate money and stuff. And so whenever someone actually donates money, she plays like different music, which is pretty funny. So the orange is nice. I don't know how well it represents on the camera as opposed to reality, but it's a bit of a weird one. So there's another one of those G20 semiotics. I actually don't even know their placement, but maybe if I get enough of them, I might look up the actual key map and see how they're meant to go. So far, there's not a lot of... what key is that? This keyboard right here is it's a pretty stock keyboard. It's a Philco Magistouch 2. It has MX Blues in it, and I've put O-rings on it. So I don't have any other dampening. I do like clicky switches. Anybody who's been following me for any given point in time will know that I love my clicky switches. So greens and blues primarily are what I like, what I use. And on almost all my builds so far, my Ergodox, my Gherkin, and my GH60 are all with clicky switches. So, wow, that's really smooth. I think that's PBT. I do actually have some tactile grays that I was able to get in thanks to Jolly Green Giant when I bought some stuff recently off Amazon and the internet, and I got them to proxy ship them for me, and I will be building something with it. Now, originally I was going to use them for my Let's Split. No, sorry, not my Let's Split. I had a keyboard idea and I was getting some PCBs made for it, but my PCB design was actually not very good, and it ended up not being made because they wanted a lot of money. I don't know if any of you guys have watched my bad, dodgy series on using KiCad to make PCBs, and I'd done a 60% design with some unusual aspects to it. I won't go into the details of that, but I had the mount holes on the side, right? So like, so if this is a plate, whoop, there we go. Okay, so if this is a plate, there's a mount hole here and there's a mount hole here. Now on the PCB, they're actually edge cuts, so it's actually half open holes. And apparently the way that I'd actually laid out my PCB, it was going to be some horrendous amount of money to actually get them cut. But what was really dumb was, I'm not going to say who I went through, because I think partially that was their fault as well. Hey, Cyclops, no, Yekleptos and Sangetsu, Ten Sangetsu. Man, I know who you are, but every time I see that, it's just like, what? But essentially, they told, it was a set of 3 PCBs that I'd done, and it was meant to be a set. They had already cut half of them before realizing that there was a problem. But here's the fun part, right? They had gone ahead and cut them before I had completed the payment process. So they made an assumption that I was going to be okay with the extra cost. And rather than waiting, they went and did it, and then they tried to bully me into paying for it. Because they were like, oh, well, we've already cut it. And I was like, I didn't give you approval to cut it. Because if you realized that there was a problem and it was going to cost you more, why did you go ahead and cut it and then ask and tell me that I had 24 hours to say if I wanted to go ahead with it or not? And in the end, I didn't. So now they have a bunch of PCBs, because I was like, well, why don't you just sell me the ones that I had already paid for that you've already produced? And they didn't want to do it. That was like, what are you going to do with them? They're just going to chuck them. It's going to be written off. It's a waste, whatever. I don't know. It was a bit of a silly business decision on their behalf, I feel. But because of that, oh look, it's a telephone button, TUV. I didn't end up having those PCBs, so my tactile grays are not being used for that build. But I'd only ordered 70 because it was going to be a 60%. And then I was like, oh yeah, you know what? I'm going to use them for the Delta Split, because I bought into the Delta Split group buy, and then I realized I was going to be 5 switches short. So now I'm probably still going to use those linear grays, sorry, those tactile grays, but it means I have to find another 5 switches of some different variety. The PCBs that I'm talking about are the ones that I made. I designed a 60% PCB and I was getting prototypes cut, and it didn't happen because they wanted more money, because the way that I'd laid out the PCB and the layers and stuff was not correct or something. I don't remember the specific details on why it was an issue, but it was an edge cut as opposed to like a hole cut or something like that. Someone tried to explain it to me. It had something to do with the grounding planes and stuff like that. And I was just like, I'm a complete noob at this. And what you said just didn't make any sense. And they didn't explain it very well either. So we all lost out in the end, because I didn't get my PCBs and they didn't get my money. So yeah. Got my Zeros waiting for the M65. I thought the M65 had already gone out to everybody. Are you still waiting for that? Or what's going on with that? Because I know weeks ago, Rama had pictures of them in the wall, and they were like, and I know J-Chan, and I know other people have already received them. Hypersphere Nova Touch, putting an SA carbon. Nice. Okay. I have a set of drawers over here, so you can kind of see what's going on over there. There's my mixer and my drawers with all my keyboard bits and pieces in it. So So I have an Overtouch as well, but it's a bit dodgy at the moment because it's got sliders that I'd cast myself, MX sliders, and it's got some of my dodgy artisans, reject artisans on them as well. So I don't really use it, and there's a dodgy one of my spacebars too, because you can see there's a massive bubble over here. Only because when I work at home, I use the numpad a lot, and I'm just too lazy with how my computer is set up to change keyboards all the time, because the Philco doesn't have a removable cable, which is just a pain in the ass. US is stuck in customs. Asia and others have got them. Wow. How long has it been stuck in customs? Wow, that's another 3U shift right there. Another one of those clear caps. Man, okay. It's not quite that same orange as that SA cap that I found earlier, but man, manual, person, man, I don't know. And what the? It's like a Lego piece with nothing on the back. So that's an oddity right there. How bizarre. How bizarre. Do I see a difference in sliders? So my cast sliders do actually sound different to the stock sliders because they're made of a different material. The thickness and size is virtually the same because they're just a copy. In terms of durability, I have had people who've used my cast sliders who've actually snapped them before. I don't know how they did it, but they did, and they are brittle. It is resin, and it's got quite thin sections on it, and the sliders are very different, but this is not a G20 cap. Look at this. It's a solid black, but it's a DSA profile. It's not a G20 at all. So that's really weird. If I look at it, it's actually got the letter S in it now. I don't know if the camera is gonna... You can see it? Yeah. I can just see it if I tilt it, and you can see the shading on the S. No, it's got two straight edges for it to be G20. It's completely like, so there's a G20 and it fits inside the G20. Like, it's, yeah, I don't think that's a G20 at all. It's very bizarre. But you know what? That's okay, because it's going to go into my unusuals bag, and then yeah, we can have a look at them again later. Oh, look at that! That's a Japanese. That's a ru right there, because there's a ruby in the end of that. That's paper feed. Feed me, Seymour. Of course, for those who don't know what I'm talking about, that line comes from Little Shop of Terrors, which featured Rick Moranis before he actually retired from the movie industry to look after his kids after his wife died. Which I think people have been wondering if he's ever coming back, because his kids are actually reasonably old now. So maybe we might see him come back. Lego piece confirmed. Tell you what though, it would be pretty cool if Lego officially paired up with a keycap manufacturer and had official Lego keycaps. That would be pretty sweet. That would be probably quite expensive, but we went to Costco earlier today to go and do a bit of shopping, and they had Duplo and some Lego sets, and it's always tempting to see them and then want to get them because, you know, even as adults, you love playing with Lego, right? My daughter's just on one, well, she's just past one now, and she doesn't really know how to play with Lego. Like, she picks up the pieces and she just bashes them. Hasn't really figured out that they actually interconnect. So, and then of course she takes up the little people and then tries to eat them. Well, she doesn't try to swallow them, she just tries to chew them. Watashi wa nihongo ga hetta desu. You're not very good at Japanese. Oh, okay. Is that right? Maybe Chokkan can actually confirm that. I would have said warui myself, but that's because I've only got high school Japanese. So there's an F10 and a P. Although that die sub on the P is so bad. It's really blurry. It's not focusing very well and helping the cause. But maybe if I do that, yeah, it's very low contrast. So it's probably why it was rejected. Another Alps. I did Japanese in high school. Whoa, look at that. Okay, so here's a great example of a double shot that's turned into some bat ears. It was meant to be an M, but you can actually see the if it'll come into focus at this position. There we go. There's the holes. There's the grid, and the secondary shot, which is the grey outside, has failed to make it all the way around, which is pretty cool. So the stem doesn't exist there either. So I'll put that aside for my unusuals collection, even though it's not a usable keycap, but that's okay. You think you wrote that wrong. What did you intend to write? What was the intended message? Hetta is did I get the meaning of hetta wrong? I probably did. Chocolatier? I don't know. Because last time there was some brown essays and people were telling me that it wasn't chocolatier. So I actually have no idea how I can or cannot tell if it's chocolatier essays. Well, you might have said it correctly. I don't know. It's been so long actually since I did Japanese and really used it in any capacity. I never really used it outside of school, so besides when I used to watch a little bit of anime, which I also haven't done in ages now. Although technically I could always just, you know, keep downloading or getting on Crunchyroll and stuff like that on Steam these days. So for the people that I'm not actually very familiar with, for example, Pazlaro and Daveling and Yakleptos, where do you guys hail from? I know some of our regulars and where they're from. Obviously, I'm assuming that Pazlaro is from the US somewhere because their M65 is held up by customs in the US. Where am I from? I'm located in Australia. Wow, look at that, baby. It's a big stem and a mini stem. I think that might be a stabilizing one, and that's probably the actual actuation one. Hotline lock. Okay, so obviously this must be a locking mechanism key of some kind. Very cool, very unusual. The mystical land of Wagga. Oh, mate. Wagga. Local. You beaut. Actually, it's quite funny. Well, I don't know. I found it amusing anyway. Somebody had private messaged me earlier today, and they were watching a video from EV blog, and it was an Australian fellow, and he was opening a mailbag, and he was using like a massive Croc Dundee knife, but he was like, I don't actually know who this comes from. It's got no, you know, sender on it. So he slashes open this box with like this massive Bowie knife, and then he pulls out a piece of paper and he goes, "Oh, it's from John Gononya." And the guy had written to me in a private message on Reddit going, "What does Gononya mean?" I was actually stumped for a minute, trying to think of a way to accurately describe to this person from Germany what Gononya means. And the best description that I had was to put good upon somebody, to wish good upon somebody, you know, like to say thanks and give you good karma, because that's really what it is, right? Good on you, in a way of saying thank you. But at the same time, being Australians, you can use it in a sarcastic manner, so it's kind of like, oh, good on ya kind of thing. So it's just one of these things that where Australian and sort of especially country speech tends to be quite often misunderstood by a lot of people simply because it's you know, unusual, a little bit different. I layeth goodness upon thee. Hey Hashit, good to see you joining. Dragon Chan, long is stabilizer, short is the one going to a switch. It's interesting you say that because there's a lot more of those singles, right? For example, if I pull that one out, that's got that same long stem, but it's a single. So does that mean it's a stabilizing one only? And I mean, surely that would mean that that's a switch actuation as well, and that's just helping stabilize the lock? I mean, I don't know. Because obviously the two of these have the same form factor in terms of the actual stem. Which is why I was kind of saying that it's probably like that. That one goes back into my curios bag, and then this one goes back into the non-standards. You are proud owner of those two. Okay. Which two are those? And Hashit, are you talking about my Switch mod station? Oh, okay, I think that's what Chokan's talking about. You're talking about this thing, yeah? This is one of my early versions of it, and I've just got some switch testy switches on it. So, I haven't made them. I actually don't know if the molds are any good for them, but if you really wanted one, at this point in time, you know, I've kind of mellowed out and whatnot, and I'm happy to share the 3D print files for these as well. And, you know, through selling these, I've essentially recouped my time and effort, so I don't mind sharing them now if people wanted to get them 3D printed themselves. The only... Oh, hey, Zealous. Good to see you. The only issue that you're going to have with this is the reason why I initially didn't want to release these 3D print files was on my printer, I print with ABS plastic and I have a different shrinkage rate and calibration scaling. So if you took my model and you put it into your own printer or you had it printed at, say, Shapeways, there's no guarantee that it's actually going to fit the switch properly. It could be too loose. More likely it's too loose than it's too tight because I actually had to make them wider due to the shrinkage that I have on my printer on my print settings. So if you want the model for that, I can. I don't know if I have any unsold pieces, but I don't have a full set in my recollection. So yeah, if you want to, just PM me on Reddit because I can either send you the model for that if you have someone who can 3D print it for you, or if I dig around in some of my stuff, then if I do have any spare bits and pieces, I can see if you're interested or not. All right. Bill, why do I print in ABS? I print in ABS because when I started in... Oh, that's a really nice one from Godspeed. When I started doing 3D printing, PLA was not a thing. Everybody was printing in ABS. And I have about still 8 kilos of ABS. I bought them really cheap at the time. Oh wow, look at that. Does anyone know where this comes from? Because that's a really creepy SA. It looks like it's a row 1 SA with an eye that's just glaring at me. Repeat after me. That's kind of why I use ABS, because I still have a bucket load of it. Melting point is actually fairly high, to be honest. The melting point for ABS is like about 200 and anywhere between 210 to like 230. I run it around 230 because my filament kind of behaves a little bit better at that higher temperature compared to at a lower temperature. I find that I get more jams and blockages at lower temperatures as well. So, but that's just me. Obviously, everyone else's own devices and print cases will be slightly different. Destabilizer is mad, by the way. Destabilizers. I don't even know what you're talking about there, but that's okay. Where do you get grab bags? Yeah, so you missed at the start when I was just doing an intro about grab bags and talking about them in general. So Signature Plastics, also known as Pimp My Keyboards, every so ever often they will do a grab bag sale. The grab bags, as you can see, contain ends of runs, starts of runs, defects and things like that. And a lot of them they can't actually sell, or they can't be used to put into actual key sets. And so they just go into like a big ass rejects tub. And whenever the tub gets to a certain level, or whenever they feel like it, they just scoop them into these 3-pound bags and sell them off at a exorbitant price. They used to be cheaper, and then they decided to make them more expensive because they realized they can make a lot of money. And a lot of people are like, oh, you people are stupid because you're buying reject plastic. It's personal opinion if you think it's actually reject plastic or not. For me, I don't consider it reject plastic because every one of these keycaps can be used for something. They can either go on a vomit build. I can, use them to trade if I wanted to people who are looking for particular keycaps to finish off sets. I can use them as sculpting bases for artisan making, all sorts of things. So he folds time and space to get his grab bags. I did not write a script. I certainly did not fold time and space. I was actually sitting at work and I was looking around the office and there was nobody. And so I logged on and I was like, am I going to be able to grab a grab bag? And are they going to sell out in time? And should I really buy one? And because there was nobody in the office at the time, I thought, you know what? Let's give it a crack. And I managed to get one. But incidentally, when I finished my purchase, I refreshed the page anyway to see if they'd sold out or not. And it didn't. I could have actually bought 2 or 3 just through normal process, because I think people were sort of either DDoSing their local exchange points on the internet or something, or they were uncertain if they wanted to buy in on it. And yeah, I don't know. I only needed one, so I only got one. I didn't really have the funds to justify buying more than one, but yeah, and that's okay. Yeah, I did actually see that thread where some guy and his mate managed to buy a whole bunch of them through using the script. So, but you know what? That's a lot of money to outlay, and I think the whole reason why they did that was because they wanted to get Godspeed. So I hope they actually got enough pieces to get Godspeed together, because if they didn't, well, there you go. Efforts and best laid plans foiled. What can I say? There's another G5. It's an F5. Another one of those weird, can be re-legended, but there's no clear tops on them. So we'll put them. Yeah. They used to actually be more expensive too, because they jacked them up to 70 and then they came back down after everyone made an outcry about it. So, but to be honest, they still sold out of them when they were at $70. But they decided to bring them down and make flat rate shipping as well, which kind of pleased a lot of people, especially me, because shipping to Australia was really expensive, but when it became $15 it was actually a lot more affordable. A typing test on my NovaTouch. I can do a typing test on my NovaTouch, but it's not going to be an accurate representation because it actually has my resin sliders in it. The whole keyboard is my resin sliders. It's not the OEM purple plastic sliders. So I don't know if that's actually going to satisfy what you're interested in terms of listening it to a typing sound test. Those guys in China, Duo, who sold their company to buy lotto tickets. Ugh. Yeah, China's got morality issues is probably the best way of describing it. I don't want to get too political, but China's growth is causing her a lot of pain because the people want to have the wealth and prosperity of the West, but they've been indoctrined into the Communist Party philosophy, and any dissidents, it's probably a good way to use it because that's the term that they use themselves, to the party line are often met with all sorts of repercussions. Okay, well, if the others don't mind, let's pull out the ye old Novitucci. So here's the ye olde Novitucci. I'm going to drop my microphone down so it's a little bit closer and easier. And let's just do a bit of... So I think the actual clickiness of the sliders might be a slightly different tone compared to the default ones because the resin material is harder, if that makes sense, because of the brittleness. The upstroke sound on the actual housing is quite distinct. In terms of the feel, they are actually a little bit shorter on travel because the base of the slider is just a tad thicker than the default ones, and that's just an effect of, you know, the way that I'd actually casted them and made them. So yeah, what's that keycap in the corner? Which corner? There's 4 corners on a keyboard, more if you count them within their certain blocks. This is like it's almost like Godspeed colored, but they're in the DCS profile, actually. Similar, but not quite. S-Links sounds like a rubber dome. Well, if you want to hear what a rubber dome is like, I've got that available too if you want comparison. Just let me know and I'll pop it up on the desk and give that a whirl. For those who may or may not be interested in microphones and were curious to know what I'm actually recording and broadcasting with, I'm happy to provide those details too, just so you have a relative reference on the sound quality that you're hearing, because I don't actually know what kind of sound quality you are hearing, so what can I say? The green circle cap over the escape. So that cap I affectionately call the masher because it was designed so you can mash the key. It's a big fat circle base and you can just mash the crap out of an escape key because you're rage quitting or you're pissed or whatever. So yeah. By the way, Bill, my name is not Dom. It's D-O-N, short for Donald. Although that said, I don't know if I've ever met anybody who has a name of Domald, D-O-M-A-L-D. That might be an interesting name for somebody. Yeah, so I actually... The masher came about from a friend of mine who was interested in keycaps, and they played 28mm desktop models, war games, right? I was 3D designing and printing for him terrain objects, so like jersey walls that could interlock, and he was casting them using plaster of Paris and just like powder casts and stuff, so that he could actually chip bits off it so it looked like bullet holes and things like that. And he had given me one of the actual black circular discs that the 28mm models sit on. He played Infinity Corvus, and I just had a harebrained idea about if you could put that on a keycap and then you could glue and mount your figurines on it and then have them on your keyboard. And that's actually where the masher comes from, because that platform is the base size. And I made some for him and he kind of put a model on it and it just looked so out there having like this, 28 mil thing sitting on your escape key. Like, we didn't go any further with it, but I had the mold and I made like a few at the same time. So yeah, it's pretty funny. Where can you get it? Well, you can't get it anywhere simply because I made them, and I haven't made any in a very long time. I made some, I'd put them up for sale, and I think I sold one. So Leb Drift. There's a G20. I don't know what that's supposed to come from, but it says Leb Drift and a sideways. There's no hole in it, so that dot is not for like a light or anything like that. That's you gonna come into focus? Wait. Get in focus, you. Leb Drift. Hey. Fully sick, bro. My car's drifting. Of course, that's being maybe a little bit culturally insensitive, but it's a stereotype that a lot of them embrace anyway. Why am I putting that DSA over there? Like I said, I'm getting a lot of DSA in this grab bag compared to last time. Last time I got a lot of DCS. This time around, I'm actually getting a lot of SA, and I suppose that reflects the fact that there's so much SA happening in the community right now. It looks like they might be carbon SAs as well as a bit of Godspeed, but there's a lot of DSA. Anyone have any idea about what, I mean, is that DSA Hyperfuse purple? Maybe? But that's good, because I don't mind DSA actually. I have DSA Borealis on my Ergodox, or my Ghetto Docs as I like to call it sometimes. That one's another cool sort of failed double shot where it kind of gone into a crescent moon appearance. How much was Godspeed? I actually don't know how much Godspeed was, simply because I didn't get in on the buy. Godspeed, a couple of $100 depending on what options you chose for it, I think. With those resin MX top ray stems, do you need to lube them? No, you don't need to lube stems at all if you don't want to. Do they feel scratchy? Not to me. Could they feel better if you lubed them? Probably, maybe. I think that's a very personal preference on how smooth you like your caps to be. Yeah. So, Dominic, hey. I don't know a lot of Dominics. I wouldn't say Dominic is very quintessential Australian, but then again, neither is Donald. So, my English name is actually, my parents didn't come up with it. A friend of theirs came up with it. So, it's not even my parents' native choice. Oh, wow, look at this baby. It's a clear, translucent cap that is meant to be a double shot, but only made the single shot. It has no stems, and there's nothing on the interior, which is pretty cool. So let's keep on going. See, it kind of like reminds me of if this was meant to be from Danger Zone. Maybe, maybe not. More DSA. Got a lot of DSA blanks. SA. Golden ticket. Ah, there's Chocolatier. I've won a golden ticket. That's pretty cool. Very cool. It is actually one of my favorite books. I do like the original movie, and I do like the Johnny Depp version as well. It's an absolute classic. And it kind of... If you've read a lot of Roald Dahl, in a way you could really think about it that he was actually a pretty twisted person. Especially things like The Witches and George's Marvelous Medicine. It's kind of like, it takes a certain frame of mind to write those kind of things. And then if you've read Charlie and the Great Glass Elevator and the Canids coming down from space and stuff like that, it's kind of like, whoa man, what were you smoking, dude? But yeah, you know, at the end of the day, they became well loved, very popular books. So what can I say? Whatever he was smoking, he was onto something good. I actually saw one of those factoid kind of things on Imager where it said that he came up with some words and he was inspired by his wife who had like a stroke and she couldn't say words properly. So things like snozberries and stuff like that was like because of that. So, you know, I need to put together a essay set for a keyboard just so I can use that golden ticket. What's the appeal of a grab bag when it's highly likely you won't get any keycaps that will fit your current sets or might not even be a row you'd swap out? So part of it's fun, kind of like what I'm doing now. The other thing is there's also relative trade value. With so many keycaps actually being made and so many people grabbing keycaps, you can actually trade or sell individual keycaps from yours for somebody else to actually complete their sets. Now, in my first grab bag, I actually traded a whole bunch of stuff to a whole bunch of different people, and I gave some away and I sold some as well because they were after things like carbon novelties. So they had actually bought the original carbon set, but they didn't buy the novelties. But then I had carbon novelties and they wanted them to complete their set. I know that people were chasing Valentine's, and Danger Zone was actually quite popular. Some of the jukebox ones were also quite popular as well. So, because when you spend $65 getting a grab bag, you've seen how many of these Godspeed keycaps I've actually already got, right? If you're very lucky, you could fit out probably most of it. And then if you pay even $1 per keycap, you're going to end up ahead compared to if you'd actually bought a complete set. And then you don't have the wait time as well necessarily. And you're not necessarily paying for market flip rates as well after everybody's received their sets. So there are a couple of reasons why you might want to get in on it. Because I mean, you know, for me, I'm a little bit silly because, you know, I need stuff, of course, to have YouTube content so you guys can hang out and chill with me. And I won't be so lonely. But at the same time, I'm a bit of a collector. So, whoa, what happened here? So this is an escape key that has some kind of secondary logo on it. It actually says ESC underneath that if the camera will... There you go, ESC, and it's got a circle and an arrow pointing outwards. That's pretty cool. Yeah, and I don't mind doing trades, especially if people have interesting stuff that I might trade for that I can review and talk about as well. So you know how Pluggable has been really supportive of our channel, as well as the fact that they've sent stuff for the meetup. They sent me a mouse to review and all that kind of stuff. That actually started from my grab bag because I had a bunch of keycaps and they'd seen it and they were like, you know, I'm interested in some of those. What do you reckon? And I was like, well, here's a bunch of keycaps and I'll send them to you so you can complete your set for a complete keyboard. And in exchange, would you mind sending me one of your keyboards so I can check it out? And they said, sounds good. And we made that exchange. And since then, it's been kind of good for both of us because I've been able to review and put out videos so that they've actually got more opinion. Now, all of my videos are my opinion. And you'll notice that quite often I don't really pull punches. If I don't like something, I'll say I don't like it. But I always try and provide constructive feedback, right? Because it's the only way that whatever I'm looking at is going to have an opportunity to improve. And that's really good for Pluggable because when I had done the microscope review, for example, you know, their microscope guy, who was not the guy that's their keyboard guy, well, got to see that, and that was stuff that they'd thought about. And, you know, it's always good to be able to see what people think and the reasons why they think certain things, rather than somebody buying it and going, oh, this is really crap, and putting it on an Amazon review without really going into detail and having a look at it. So, but... hey, protos for something that escape an arrow. I don't know. It's we're almost there at the bottom. We've been going for an hour and 10 minutes now, which I think we're making reasonably good time, all things considering. There's some non-standards there. They can go into my non-standards bag. Some more Alps. Okay, essay, test cycle. Caps look. DSA. Oh. That enter is such a bold font. I really like that. It's just enter right there. So besides those people who are in Australia and in the sort of local Asian community area space, what have you guys got planned for the rest of the day? I mean, it's already rolling into evening at the moment. It's probably 5 something at the moment. It's 5:20 over here in Australia, as the evening is fast approaching on a Saturday. Any plans for people out there? Party animals, that kind of thing? I'm well past the age of going out and partying on a Saturday night. Not that I ever did in my younger years. Jog? Go on. Jog off. Such a British term, isn't it? To jog off. Just makes me think of... what's that movie? It's a Simon Pegg movie, and it's not Dawn of the Dead. Oh wow, check it out, I've got a cherry keycap. Cool, how awesome is that? It's the one where he goes in Hot Fuzz. There we go, Hot Fuzz. I love that movie. 420, yeah. Tell you what, Chokan, I would love to be able to go back to Japan one day. It's been a very long time since I've been there. I'm sure a lot has and a lot hasn't changed all at the same time. Yeah, Hot Fuzz indeed. It's the classic fat cap, the re-legendable 4-switch fatty. So it's a bit of an unusual one. So it can't be cherry profile, and the reason why it can't be cherry profile is because Signature Plastic doesn't do cherry profile. So it's going to be their DCS profile cap. But I think it's a reject because it's upside down. So yeah, upside down cherry. Yeah, well, I don't actually know where you are in Japan, but my sister-in-law is actually working in Tokyo. She used to be at the Yuzu capital of Japan, wherever that is, and she finished her job there. Wow, that's an incomplete SA shot right there. Look at that. It's like somebody took a lighter to it. But she finished her job there because she was part of the JET program and found a new job and now is living and working in Tokyo. Where in Tokyo? I don't know. So, and I do know people in Japan. I know a potter, and when I say a potter, I mean somebody who actually makes pottery in Japan. They were taught by somebody and learnt a lost art form. It's a particular way of salt glazing, apparently, that's very rare and uncommon, and very few people around the world still actually know how to do it properly and correctly, and so that's what he does. He does a particular salt blown pottery. It's pretty cool. I've seen some of his work on his website, and he also had like Instagram kind of pictures where he was showing off, you know, how he was lighting the kiln and then checking and monitoring its temperature and stuff like that. Yeah, got some bits of scrap here. I'm just going to sweep them off and chuck them in the bin. Alrighty. Now we can do what Bill had asked which is to empty the rest of the bag out. Whew. The bag is empty. And of course, if you're watching at home, don't put it over your head because that would just be plain silly. Now that's a fat shift, and I know it's a shift because it actually has shift on it in the reflection, and obviously the double shot didn't work. Shift air. Swift air. Oh, are you guys fans of Rick and Morty? Because season 3 is coming soon. Wubba lubba dub dub. A famous Potter. Luc Fischer is his name. Luc is a Frenchman living in Japan. Now that's a really interesting cat. I don't know what that was meant to be. It's an O, maybe? 2 things, circles? DSA Otaku? I don't know. Hey, Chris and Yoris. Thanks for swinging by. You're going to go out and eat some croissants, not some baguettes? Come on, you got to have baguettes, right? It's the only thing to do. No? Probably going to kill me saying that because he hates me saying that. But I was not the one who actually said that in the start. That was Yoris in one of our podcasts. Oh, look at that. I got a fat bit of black disc plastic. That must be like feedstock or something that goes in the machine. Baguette is for lunch. Oh, I'll tell you what, fresh baguette with butter is amazing. Like, that's all you need to put on it, just butter. A good quality butter, not like a cheap butter, and it just melts and it's so soft, and the bread is just delicious, warm, fragrant, and then it's got that crunch on the outside. Oh, the bread life. Oh. Now, of course, if you guys are anime fans and you haven't seen Yakitate Japan, that's also a really great series that has a lot of puns and jokes and has a lot of fun, but it's all about baking the perfect bread for Japan. Because pan in Japanese also means bread. So there we go, some Japanese pun. Western Star butter. No. Get out of here. Lurpak is so much better. Oh, look at this. I got a sprue. A bit of sprue made it into my bag. Lurpak is better than Western Star. And even if it's unsalted, but I preferred salted, of course. Because if you're going to have stuff that's going to make your arteries clog up, you might as well make your heart work harder anyway, right? And you only live once unless if you believe in reincarnation, which then you can come around and have some more butter again. Because what's the worst that's going to happen? You're just going to go back around. The OG of Shokugeki no Soma. Well, see, Shokugeki no Soma is a little bit different simply because of the fact that there's cooking style to it. I actually kind of feel like Shokugeki no Soma also draws from other cooking series like Addicted to Curry, for example, where you've got battles going on. But of course, it is in a school setting, which is slightly different. So, but you know what? Everything has its own particular style and uniqueness about it. So my wife has just stuck her head in and she says, there's better butter out there as well, which is Papa Saya. Now, if you don't know what Papa Saya butter is, you got to go and look for it. I don't know if you can get it outside of Australia, technically. It's cultured butter. And when I say cultured butter, I don't mean like, monocle top hat going, oh, good day to you. It's butter that's got like yogurt type of culture in it. And to explain that, it's basically got live fermentation that occurs to the actual cream before it's turned, the buttercream that is, before it's actually turned into butter. And so the butter itself has a different texture, has a different smell, has a different taste because it's got that cultured factor in it. For those who aren't used to fermented products, it would probably be a little bit strong in taste because there's that slight sort of acidity and sourness to it. But if you like that kind of stuff, Papa Saya butter is really nice. Just to expand a little bit more on that, if you've never heard of kefir, and I say kefir, not kafir, in that the term used for South African natives. in as much as a non... Look, I got another one of these things. Honestly, what in the dickens? Kefir is fermented milk. Wow, look at that fat backspace. That is backspace. Kefir is fermented, and it comes from the ye old days where they would actually put milk into goats' stomachs and then just let it sit and chill out in the goat stomach. And then it would ferment, and then they would basically drink it. And it kind of preserves the milk as well. These days, it's a little bit not so bad because you don't have to get a goat's stomach. But it's really good for you because it's got a lot of probiotics in it. And we make kefir here. We have kefir jars. We were part of a Kickstarter where it's these glass jars that have strains. Wow, look at that. Super ultra thin. It's a M6, whatever the heck that is. And yeah, it's one of those slot caps, but that's pretty cool. Into my unusuals bag it goes. Yeah, so we make kefir at home, and it's cultured basically. Slightly acidic. It has effervescence in it because it's got the carbon dioxide that's produced by the actual probiotic biomass in it. And you can actually make kefir butter. You can make kefir yogurt, kefir smoothies. It's really good. I would advise that if you like that kind of stuff, if you're into that kind of stuff, to look it up and check it out because yeah, it's good stuff. Getting to the end there. Getting to the end. Another one of those weird top clip caps. Almost there. P pink. Max Keys is SA. What? Head French words. Okay. Max Keys, yes, does do SA profile. I think their SA is not true SA because it's slightly different. Like I know people have put Max Keys SAs like side by side to PMK SA keys, and they're slightly different in height, and also the thickness. The wall thickness is slightly different. So it almost seems like somebody had done like a 3D scan or a remodel of the SA profile and then put it in, and it didn't like turn out exact. So the rest of that is all DSA. I'm just going to put those two random bits there. All right. Now we are currently an hour and 22:48, or well, almost 25 minutes into this live stream. I don't know how you guys feel about hanging around for longer. What do you guys want me to do now? Do you want me to go back through each of the profiles and check out what I've got, or shall we just kind of call it now? Let me know what you think. You can call this hotline on 1-800. So, just in terms of proportion, these are all the same 1 quart Ziploc bags because they came from Costco, and Australia doesn't really use quart. It's like 900 something mils, almost a litre. I have this much in DCS. So 1 sack of DCS. I have most of a sack of DSA. I have almost 2 sacks of SA, which is huge. Oh, hey, Amtra. Chokan, a cup of tea would sound fantastic right now. And unusually so compared to last time, this is all I've got in the non-standard MX. Last time I actually got quite a lot of non-standards. So it's nice to see at least I've got more usable caps this time around. I've got a bunch of what appears to be blank granite Alps. So that'll be good for anybody who actually has Alps. I don't at the moment anyway. Show me what you got. Get swifty. And then here's my bag where I've got a bunch of unusuals as well as all those G20s. So Okay. What are people really interested in? I'm sure people are mostly interested in Godspeed, aren't they? Now, I got stuff in here which kind of looks like Godspeed colors, but can someone confirm for me if Godspeed was just SA or if Godspeed was DSA as well? Or if Godspeed was just DSA? Give it to my brother. He's not into keyboards. He just has a Alps keyboard sitting around in his room. Those granite Alps. Do I sense somebody who's interested in them? Hi, Ellen. Thank you for joining the stream. It's actually the first time I've actually seen you on my stream, so thank you for coming along and checking it out. I don't know where you're from, but it'd be cool to find out. I know for our podcast, we actually have listeners across like 42 different countries. How thick are they? Well, let's check it out. When you say thickness, are you talking about the outer wall? Because I do have a ruler here. Just going to position my mic so I'm not going to bang my head into it. I'm going to bang it with the ruler instead, and it looks like they are 1 mil. So, yeah, pretty much 1 mil thick. I don't know if there's... It says DSA 43 on the side. I don't think the camera's going to pick it up, but there's... Yeah, you can just see it says DSA, and then in the shadow of the actual stem, it says 43 there. So, that's pretty cool. Oh, sorry about that. Just knocked the pop filter. Well, I suppose let's just see how much Godspeed I actually got then. Why not? That's what I'm going to do is I'm going to empty 2 bags of the SA into my now very empty mega bag that they came from, and then we'll sort them as Godspeed and not Godspeed. Sound like a plan? And then we can see how much value I got. Bowing on the walls. Bowing on the walls. Guys are making me work really hard here. But you know what? I aim to please. That's got some. That's got some. That's got some. That's got some. It looks like all of these have a little bit of bowing on it. None of these are perfectly straight at all. Maybe that's why they're rejects? Oh. Yeah, it looks like they all have one or more that has some curvature in the walls. So that's a bit sad, I guess, but when they're sitting down, I mean, okay, you can probably see it, but personally it wouldn't really bother me. Oh well. Granite Alps PBT, it feels like PBT. Yeah, these definitely feel like PBT. They don't have that shine either of ABS. It's impossible. Too weak for that? I don't know what that is in reference to. Oh, okay. Now, Saint Victor. Victory? Is that how you pronounce it? Alps planks. Well, maybe they ended up in the rejects because they have the bowing, so we don't know. I guess you'll just have to wait and find out. Well, I just had one cap go flying. Just bashed my entire table with my knee, which is never pleasant. Alright, so we're going to go Godspeed and not Godspeed. So, Godspeed. Did Godspeed have blanks? I think it did, didn't it? You guys are going to have to tell me if I actually miss any. I think there's carbon there as well. I'm only looking for these colors, right? Can someone confirm that before I go ahead and start? Victoire. Okay. Victoire. What does it mean? Victory? No? Those greens look nice. Double shots. These things? Double shot alts. Caps locks. F8. Victory. Victoire. Alright, so I'm going to assume that I'm only looking for that creamy color and the blues with that creamy color as well. So anything that's not that is gone into a non-Godspeed bag. Especially this ridiculously long spacebar. Ridiculously long. Is that kind of right? Some tab and controls. I definitely think I've got carbon here, which is always nice. Yeah, I think I've got that. That looks like an SA camping one. So, well, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It's an 8U spacebar. Stepped caps lock, controls, blanks. It's an up from camping by the looks of it. And yes, there is actually still jukebox hanging around. I've got a whole bag of jukebox, actually. See? Jukebox. Enter. Another long spacebar. Another one of those. I think Bus Gamer had said that it looked like... Was it the jukebox color that matched the Godspeed alphas? He said that one of them had the same alpha color, so if you really wanted to, you could cobble it using a mishmash of both sets. Can anyone confirm that? I might have to ask him later. Who knows? I could be completely wrong and misunderstood that, but here we go. Look at that. A whole handful of them. Some blanks, another tab, another blank. Getting a lot of modifiers. Ah, poop. Where'd you go? Normally I probably wouldn't be too bothered about it disappearing, but because my daughter's walking, got to make sure little things like that on the floor are not. Carbon and Godspeed, same alpha colors. Okay. So then these are not carbon because they're like a creamy color, whereas I'm pretty sure that's carbon and that's a completely different tone. Just me, Dave. Hey, welcome to the board. Thanks for coming along and checking out our stream. How am I? I'm not too bad. Winding down for the evening. I don't know what's happening for dinner at the moment. My wife is out there, no doubt, slaving away doing something. The Godspeed logo. These two. It's nice, isn't it? Oh, hey. Great to see you, Mr. Mech Mini. Of course, unmercilessly teasing my own co-host there about his Mech Mini woes. Yeah, I don't think Carbon is that yellow. So Carbon is real. I believe that's the Carbon. So that is more of a sort of beige compared to the yellow. Whereas I think Godspeed is more of the yellow cream color. How's things going over where you are, Dave? Do 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 do. Nicotine stain penumbra. I shouldn't laugh because people who usually have those kind of stains are very heavily addicted, so they need help to get things back on track in their lives. Get away from smoking and spending all that money and doing horrible, nasty things to their lives. Mech Mini 2 prototype lands your way. Nice. So, I don't know if you want to share here with all of our current viewers what's different on the Mech Mini 2. Oh, I've got a third one. Stow it. We've got Orbit and Pulse. And of course, the classic Rob Out. Always good for a laugh. Any way to get permission to link the forum post? Yeah. Give me a second. And there you go. Give it a try now. You should find that it's going to work. There we go. And there's that orange, that random orange. It's almost like that Devlin Toxic Ski Data orange. I don't know. It's so random. There's no other ones. Like everything else that there looks to be more than one that kind of looks and has a same feel about it, but it's just one fat SA orange. You know what? I'm going to take that and it can go into my curios bag because it is a curio. My bag of curios. QMK aluminium case, polycarb base. Nice. PCB does ortho and staggered. Oh, okay. Well, I was thinking about that other keyboard actually that had the two layouts, but that was numpad and wow. Okay, that was a massive fail. Excuse me while I disappear off camera momentarily while I pick up all the caps that just went on the floor. The worst part is I don't even know how many fell, so I have to check very carefully to make sure I didn't miss any. Because the best thing about kids is they find stuff that you don't. It's like, she's in the habit of stashing stuff. And we don't even know where she stashes stuff. So she's got like this little kids, like it's a hut, and there's these 3 balls with piggies on them, and you put them through the chimney. It's like the 3 Little Pigs story. And she stashed one of these pigs, and we didn't find it for like 2 weeks. Oh, it's just like, where did it go? thankfully, my living space and quarters here is so small that it's actually relatively quick and easy. Now, is Hashit still around? I don't know. Participants. No, Hashit is not around. Or is he? Anyway, I actually still have 3 pieces of my mod switch station. So, Hashit, if you do find out about this, if you're interested, there is 1 end piece and 2 mid pieces, obviously in odds and ends. Okay, let's try to be a little bit more careful. 15 little toys stuffed into subwoofer. Nice. We gave her one of my wife's old mobile phones. We took the battery out of it, right? And I super glued it so she couldn't pull it apart and eat it. But we haven't seen it since probably the 3rd day. Because she was walking around and holding it to the back of her head because she hasn't figured out it's actually meant to go to your ear. She's trying to emulate what we do. And she stashed it and we don't know where it is. She keeps going for our phones because she likes to play with the object rather than... She doesn't know how to use a phone at all, even when it's unlocked. She just picks it up and just turns it in her hands and kisses it and stuff. But we honestly don't know what happened to my wife's old phone. She's gone and stashed it somewhere and that's the end of that. Mal equals delete. Mal equals delete. Where is the mal key? Oh, are you just saying from the link? Because obviously I don't have a mal key here. I think it's because it means malfunction. Hey, Letification, great to see you. Thanks for coming along. And Outrage Pudding. Well, I'm glad that I can keep you guys entertained. How long is... Oh, man, this bag's too fat. I need to split it into a second bag. How long's Yoris going to be chilling out with you for? Your niece loves phones and remotes. Well, our daughter doesn't get a chance to play with remotes only because we don't have remotes for her to play with. We have a television. As a matter of fact, we have 2 televisions, but both of them are behind our laundry racks, which are permanently up because we do cloth nappies. And so laundry is a never-ending process around our house. Well, around our apartment. Don't have a house. So, here we go. Getting towards the end of the bag. It's a lot of modifiers, but not a lot of alphas. So, might have to be a carbon Godspeed set instead. Which would be alright. I think the combo would look good, to be honest. A little bit more of a stronger contrast. But it would work. It would work. Yoris has been here since Thursday, leaving tomorrow. Ah, okay. You guys gotta... Well, not just show me, but you gotta put a post up, you know, on Reddit. Because 2 well-loved community members meeting up from across continents is a lovely thing. Absolutely lovely. It should be the same, you reckon? Was the actual color codes meant to be the same? Because unless if these are jukebox, but I have to go back and look at my other bag. Because if it is, then obviously I have to go back through these other bags and pull out these ones. Get to see more of your The Board shirt, hey? Well, it's a very select club of people actually who have The Board t-shirts. So you're definitely in a very exclusive subset of people. Alrighty. There's a plus sign. There's a very faded F. A blank. Another orbit and another logo. Chocolatier enter by the looks of it. And the last handful. Here we go. And there are no chocolatier. So, no chocolatier. What am I saying? No more Godspeed in it. Chocolatier on the brain. Chocolate addict, huh? No, not quite. But, so that is... Well, that one's not even the same. It's kind of an off yellow. It's not even the same yellow. Alright. That looks to be what I've got in Godspeed. Now, if... SA camping offers. Okay. That's pretty cool. GMK grab bags. That would be pretty awesome. But being Germans, I don't even know. You can open the door. If they would even have defects enough to do grab bags. Who knows? And my lovely wife has just very kindly brought me some tea. I wonder if Chocken's had his cup of tea and what kind of tea he's had. Do you guys drink tea? I drink both, tea and coffee. And I make cold brew as well. But what are we having right now? Oh, it's that Canadian ice wine tea. It's pretty cool. Yeah, this stuff is actually really nice. It's very fragrant. It's got a very light, delicate flavor. We brought it back from Canada? No.
Yeah.
We brought it back from Canada in 2011. So it's 6 years old, and it's this stuff, Metropolitan tea. Good tea tastes better, but it still tastes pretty good. Earl Grey, classic. Can't go wrong with Earl Grey. A coffee snob. Well, you know, don't have to be a coffee snob. You can appreciate coffee without being a snob. So, what do you guys think? Is this actually the wrong color for Godspeed? These yellow bits, these creamy bits, and if that's the case, well, they'll just go back in the bag. I'll pull out another bag and I'll put at least these Godspeed modifiers that we know 100% confirmed. Good number of them, actually. Pretty cool. A coffee snob, not a coffee elitist. So then, Dave, what is your favorite coffee? What is your coffee of origin? Is it Ethiopian, Guatemalan? Do you prefer a blend? How do you like your coffee? Straight, black, espresso, Turkish, Greek, or please don't tell me just percolated drip, right? You can't be a coffee snob if you're a percolated drip coffee drinker. Those two phrases just don't even work together. I need to check out this link that you've put up. What is it? Okay, the Godspeed set. All right. Yeah, but these are renders. Where's the real pictures? The renders don't reflect. He had a thread that had actual pictures, didn't he? Where he was like, these come from like my potato phone, so they don't actually accurately display what they look like. No? Didn't he? I'm pretty sure he did. Alright. Well, if that's the case, shall we go back around again and pull out the ones that I thought were carbon? A small espresso machine. Ah, okay. That's pretty cool. Geisha. I'm not terribly snobby. I do like a good coffee, and only this year I really started getting into cold brew. Cold brew is really easy and quick to make, but it's not easy to clean, which is the real pain about it. At work, I drink pod coffee as well as cold brew espresso. The Aldi range for the locals here who know what I'm talking about. Why did I just put those in there? Anyway, water is always good. I drink a lot of water at work. I drink cold tea. I drink green tea. Pretty much almost anything. I don't drink a lot of alcohol. I do drink sometimes, from time to time. Cold brew is really easy to make. Do you have a coffee grinder yourself? Like just something to break up the whole beans? Or do you buy your coffee, the geisha coffee, already pre-ground? Mito Falls WordPress. Let's check out this link. Yeah, see? It's that beigey color. It's definitely not the carbon color. That's why I'm really confused. But you know what? It doesn't matter because we can still sort them out anyway. Let's go and grab out those carbon essays and see what they look like as well. Now, I don't know how true it is, but according to the world of the internet, you should never buy pre-ground coffee because it's got like sticks and dirt and bark and stuff in it, basically filler. How true that is, I don't know. I think that's an ice cap, actually.
Unless they grind it on the premises.
Yeah, unless if they fresh grind the coffee for you at the time. Carbon color chips. Let's check this out. So that's the WBO. So what did he say in that other thread? I think Mito said it was WBO, didn't he? Is that what he said? Yeah, WBO. Okay, so they are then the same as carbon. All right. Cool. Now I've got to try and figure out if that's not carbon. Okay, so if you've got a trusted source, then that's fantastic. So the next time that you actually talk to your friend and get some coffee, ask him to give you a coarse to medium grind. It's really as simple as that. It's just a coarse to medium grind. It's not. It's even coarser than for a French press. All right. And then what you do is you just. The easy way is you bung it in a container and fill it with water. Now I have a 1 gallon bottle that I put in half a pound of coffee, roughly, and I fill it up to the top with water and I let it steep for 24 hours. And that's all you need to do. How strong you like your coffee is entirely up to you on how much coffee you put in and how much water you put in. And yeah, if you fresh grind it, then you do have a limited time frame to use it before it starts to go stale and you lose a lot of the aromatic oils, as well as the oils going rancid. So he is right that you probably do want to use it within a certain time frame. Some people say you really should use it within the same day because after the same day it just doesn't taste the same. But that depends on how good your taste buds are, to be honest. For me, probably not that good, so that's okay. But when you do cold brew, right, cold brew extracts a lot of the water solubles, but not a lot of the oils. And so it has a cleaner aftertaste, which is what I like about it and what a colleague of mine really likes about it. I make it for him. And it does extract more caffeine because it's a passive process that has 24 hours. The hot extract doesn't pull as much out compared to the longer cold extract. For me, at half a pound per gallon, it's almost 3 times as strong as a standard cup of coffee. So that is kind of the ballpark figure that you want to think about when you consume it if you have limitations on your caffeine intake. There's that I key, and I need to put that I key into my curios because it's a curio. Check that out. Don't even know what that's from or for. Yeah, so I typically don't drink it straight, but my colleague does, and he just drinks it straight, whereas I tend to dilute it either with cold water or milk. depending on how much of a caffeine kick that I'm after, I'll either go 2-to-1 or 3-to-1 or the reverse. So, 1 part coffee to 2 parts water, or I would go 2 parts coffee to 1 part water. Things you learn. Things you learn. Now, the problem with having that cup of tea is that I've lost some of my desk space.
Oh, you want to move it?
It's alright.
I'll move the
Maltesers.
Maltesers.
Oh, 750 mil at 11 o'clock at night. That is not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. It's well, there are worse things. Oh, so I was in New York many, many years ago, and it was the first time I came across Arizona tea, and I of course got an Arizona tea, and it had, oh, goodness knows what was in it. It was like the green tea one, and I did not sleep for nearly 2 days. That's how wide I was after I had that bottle of Arizona tea. So I know exactly what you mean by that. How many grab bags did I end up getting? Just one. Just one. I couldn't really justify getting more than one. And, not that it's an issue of fairness or not for other people, but I did have enough opportunity at the rate that I completed my transaction. I could have gone for a second or a third, but no. One every so often is more than plenty for me. Really? What's the iced tea Arizona tea? Yeah, those long bottles with the long necks on them. I'm going to point to the middle of the camera. The long bottle. It was like a green outer, and it had like goodness knows, it had like ginseng in it and green tea and goodness knows what other additives in it. But I had one of those, and I just could not sleep at all. It was pretty potent. Pretty potent. Tell you though, that part of town in New York was also a real eye-opener too. Because ATM machines on the street had been jimmied open. I kid you not, like the front of them had been broken off. And there was like rats like the size like that big, running around. So yeah, but there's a lot of things that are very different in the US to Canada. My brother actually lives in the US and works in the US at the moment. His kids have grown up in the US, so they're very Americanized. And him and his wife are both. We were all grown up and sort of raised in Australia for most part. And his wife was saying that it's weird and refreshing at the same time to come back to Australia and see that bread expiry dates is like 6 days as opposed to like 6 weeks, because we don't have the level of additives put into our bread over here. So it's like you actually have to go out and get fresh food, rather than in the US you can buy something and you can just have it sitting around in your pantry for however long before it goes off. Not to mention the travesty of the fact that they don't like Vegemite, and they also don't like meat pies. Now, any good Australian, how can you say no to a meat pie, right? Even like a servo pie. Come on. It's just, yeah. Now, obviously, I don't know if you guys have any idea what I'm talking about, but like a servo pie is a pie that you get at a service station, especially when you're on a road trip, and they're just like the most disgusting and beautiful thing all at the same time. We have really good pies in Australia. There's a lot of companies like Garlo's and Mrs. Max and stuff like that, and they supply service stations, especially on major highways. So when you actually go and get a servo pie, it's not some horrible dingy thing, unless if it was like some really manky independent service station somewhere up in the mountains with like nobody around, and they're probably grinding up their next door neighbor for meat, Barbara of Fleet Street style. But no, servo pies when you've been driving for hours on end is really great. Of course, making reference to things that I don't know if everybody necessarily knows. Marmite. Oh, I'm sorry, but Marmite and Vegemite, Marmite actually tastes weird. I've had Marmite before, and it's just...
It's like Promite.
Yeah, like Dick Smith's made some Marmite and stuff, and it was just like, oh, no. I suppose it's an acquired taste. Same with Vegemite. People who are not from Australia, I know actually some I know some non-Australians who actually like Vegemite. It's all about how you're introduced to it and how you eat it. If you don't know how to eat it properly, it's very unpleasant. You've seen that. You are a pom. Well, that explains it. Yes, the British do actually quite like their Marmite. Dust mites. Oh well, dust mites are not quite spreadable. They spread themselves, really. It's like dust bunnies. They know how to reproduce quietly in corners. There's this really great clip of the Jimmy Kimmel show with Hugh Jackman, and Hugh Jackman comes on and goes, "Mate, I got a beef for a beef about how you were saying that Vegemite was horrible, and it's because you didn't do it right." And he goes to show them how you're supposed to have Vegemite, and it's the right way. It's the right way is you have a tiny amount of Vegemite with a copiously buttered piece of bread, and the butter just smooths out that sharpness of the Vegemite, and it mellows out that saltiness, and you just end up with a lovely piece of toast. So, a pom. Well, Dave.
What's a pom?
There's a lot of people in your country who were poms as well, whose heritage are poms. As a matter of fact, any Commonwealth country will have poms there in some capacity. A pom is a person from the British Empire. Predominantly, actually, poms are more used for those who are pre-World War II English. Modern kids, for example, a lot of them won't identify themselves as poms. Careful now. But it is a generic term for a UK or English citizen. So there you go. Well, it looks like I got a reasonable amount of caps, but I actually have carbon caps in another bag from previous, so I might actually be able to cobble something together, maybe. So there we go. I'll put these into a separate bag for now anyway, and then I'll consolidate them later. I don't know how many carbon I've got previously. My wife is having a good time looking at things on the internet. But that's what the internet's for, isn't it? So that's pretty much most of the grab bag of interest. I got some... Well, that was... Cap nearly went in the tea. I probably still would have drunk it anyway. I don't think there's really much else terribly interesting. It seems to be a bit of a concoction of Valentine's. There's a little bit of chocolatier in there. There's still jukebox hanging around. There might be a little bit of Danger Zone or something that looks like Danger Zone. But you know what? I don't mind this haul because I got a lot of DSA, and DSA is versatile because it means you can use it on all sorts of stuff. And Daveling, yes, I did finish the grab bag. It's all gone. It's all empty. There's the 3-pound bag, empty. So let's recap what I got in my 3 pounds. Well, first of all, for those who didn't see it, because they might have not seen it, the grab bag actually came with this Pimp My Keyboard velour bag meant for keeping keycaps in. It's actually huge. You can fit like a 60% keyboard in it. So, but it's very thin, I wouldn't really recommend it. And if you put keycaps in it, it's just going to make up the inside of it with the sharp edges from the keycaps. But it's kind of nice. So, yeah. And some receipts and shopping there that you don't need to see. What did I get in my bag this time? So, that's how much Godspeed I got, by the looks of it. Marmite is twice as expensive as Zemmour on Amazon. Might have to do a taste test. TXCP is going to be rerun. I do want to get it 1800 and try it, because I do use F-row keys, especially for Word and Excel functions. But I do use numpad a lot as well, because I deal in 9+ digit numbers. The home block is convenient for navigating on spreadsheets, because I do spreadsheets that are up to 11,000 lines long. So I do use a lot of primary keyboard, and it's faster than trying to memorize and remember shortcuts and functions. So, but the 1800 format, I can lose, for example, home and end and insert for most part, but delete up, page down is kind of important. But if the format allows reprogramming, then that's something that I could potentially work around with. So I've got these orangey jukeboxy kind of caps there as well. I've still got 1.5 sacks of miscellaneous SA profile. You can see there's some ice cap, there's some chocolatier, there's some SA camping, some red ones from I have no idea what. There's some Valentine still hanging around. So that's pretty cool. I got a bunch of granite-like Alps in DSA, which somebody might be interested in. I've got a little bag of curios, so just unusual keycaps or badly done ones like this. Get to the top. So I got some G20 semiotic, which is that Aliens keyboard style one, and this one that's just completely, absolutely manked. Looks like it was a test cap because it's just got all sorts of shit printed all over it. Yeah, as well as I think somebody said it was like maybe DSA Otaku or something like that, and then this man, and of course an upside down cherry key. So little bag of oddities. I got nearly a full bag of DSA, which is pretty cool because last time I didn't get nearly as much DSA, so that's pretty cool. Including these clear ones, these translucent see-through ones, that's really cool. I quite like those. I'm very happy that this time around I actually got a very small number of non-standard keys. So this is my collection of non-standards with these long non-buckling spring caps, as well as an actual sprue. Why am I keeping the sprue? I don't know. I'll probably throw it away at some point, but it's kind of nice just to see how big and fat their sprues are actually when they're manufacturing. And then I got about a half bag of DCS. So I probably got about very similar amounts last time, but most of my DCS last time was the black style ones, just the black on white. Sorry, the white on black. But this time I've actually got a good mix, and there's a lot of grey DCS as well, and some blanks. So that's pretty cool. Might be a bit of an effort to cobble together an actual full key set, but at least between the two grab bags, I'm going to get closer to being able to do that. So that's pretty much it. I'm just going to see if I can make them all fit back in the box, and then I can show the box and sort of the different categorizations I've got going here. Hopefully I've closed all of these and they're not going to explode all over me again like it did before. I don't know, did you hear when that happened?
I heard something. I might have been...
Alright, so it's, and then Godspeed on top. And there you go. They all fit kind of neatly back inside the box again. So I think that's pretty much just wrapping up. How much Godspeed did I get? You've asked that already, Dave Ling. Here we go. That's how much Godspeed mods I got. And that looks to be the alphas that I got. So I don't know. I'm not going to do an exact count, but it's probably about a half bag in total. Definitely not enough to cobble a complete keyboard. Maybe not even for a 40%, but with some clever trading perhaps and combining with carbon from before, I might have a little bit more. So, but that said, you know what? That's okay. I don't mind. Some good keys in here. Pulse, for example. Rub out over here. And I got some orbits as well as the actual Goodspeed logos. So that's always pretty cool. So the purple red one, Budapest. Okay, yeah, I remember Budapest. I've actually been there as well. So that works both ways. Grand Hotel Budapest. That was actually a really nice movie. I quite like that movie too. Rightio. We're 2 hours and 10 minutes in. So if you're still hanging around, that's actually really cool. Thank you very much, actually, for chilling out with me for the last 2 hours and checking out, obviously, my sorting of the grab bags. I don't know if you guys have any other questions or whatnot. Of course, if you haven't subscribed and you are actually checking out this channel and you're not into mechanical keyboards and you have absolutely no idea what mechanical keyboards are all about, and you're seeing the chat and you're going, what the heck are these guys talking about? What's a TX 1800? You can always head to our Reddit subreddit. It's just reddit.com/r/mechanical keyboards, and you'll find 180,000 plus people who love and enjoy mechanical keyboards who would be more than happy to help you out and teach and show and explain and hope that you don't, lose too much of your money down mechanical keyboards, but at the same time enjoy them. We, of course, have our podcast series if you're also new to this entire space at www.theboardpodcast.com. Entire back catalog ad free, but of course we are dependent upon donations from the community to help our hosting costs. We have our YouTube channel here as well, about 620 or so subscribers right now. We've just started our 600 subscriber giveaway, which is running right now. The link is actually in the description of the video. It's going to run until the 15th of July, and you have a chance of winning a Movember keycap, which I will pull out right now as soon as I locate it, whichever one it is. Is it in here? Or did I pull it out earlier and it's floating somewhere else? Oh, here it is. Okay. So there is the keycap in there. Let's just bust that out. I do not own our mechanical keyboards. I said our site in terms of the general community, Reddit. There is the New Zealand greenstone embedded, encapsulated in that. So a little bit of natural history right there in that Movember keycap. Available to the lucky winner of the random draw that we'll be doing. Yeah. ISO Azerty is awful. Well, I've never tried typing on it, so thankfully I've never had to try typing on it. Have a great time, Outrage Pudding and yours. Enjoy your mountain air and your lunch as well. Alrighty. So I just want to give a quick shout out for those who might be local and Australian, or if you know friends who are actually in Sydney, because the Sydney Mechanical Keyboard Meetup is happening next Saturday. It's the venue opens at 10, so we can't get in until 10, and then we've got to set up tables and everything else. But it is going to run from 10 till 4. We're going to be doing raffle draws, giveaways, raffle draws, prizes, every hour. So there's going to be the first one at 11, then 12, 1, 2, and 3 o'clock. We've got 9 keyboards to give away, and we've got a whole bunch of other stuff that our sponsors have kindly donated and put in. And I've got a whole bunch of snacks and stuff like that that I've already got ready for the meetup. Raffles, actually, the pre-order raffles should be closed. Pre-registration should be closed, so it does remind me I need to go and close that form off. But you can, of course, get more tickets on the day as well. Right now, there is 48 people who are pre-registered, which is fantastic. And I know that there's people who are coming who haven't pre-registered, and there's about 80 keyboards that people are going to be bringing. Of course, people are going to come and go on the day, so what you can and can't see and try and test out and whatnot is going to vary throughout the day. But I will be taking 7 of my own keyboards there, maybe some artisans that I have, and I think we might have like a sponsors table, because Tay Keyboards, Mendez from Tay Keyboards is actually going to be there as well, and he's thinking about bringing 20 keyboards or so. He's thinking about bringing a suitcase, because it's the only way that he's going to be able to fit them in. So we might have a keyboard table just for him and my stuff as sponsors for the actual meetup, and then that way, yeah, it'll be easier for everybody else to have their stuff on different tables around the room space as well. So I think that's pretty much it. And once again, I'm just going to throw the question out on the floor. If there's anything that you guys want to ask or have a chat about while we're here live with everybody else. Otherwise, we might call it and wrap it up. Just checking out if anything's happening in the chat. Obviously, there's a delay happening between when I'm talking and stuff being visible for you guys. No, nothing. Now, we got 12 people watching right now, which is pretty cool. I want to say thank you to all 12 people, because it's actually not bad turnout. Officially speaking, the highest number of people we've ever had watching any of our live streams is been 22 people. So 12 is just under that, which I think is fantastic, because when I decided to do this impromptu grab bag sorting, I actually didn't know if anybody would come along at all. So 12 people plus yours. There we go. Haven't you guys started going up the mountain yet? Oh, Gabe, where have you been doing? You've just been lurking. Why am I so sexy? Maybe you're asking that question of my wife, not me. See this? Playing League of Legends? Well, I was actually thinking about if anybody would be interested in me having a gaming streaming thing going, except for the fact that I realized probably not, because I suck at games, and also because my computer's really horrible and laggy and doesn't like to stream smoothly. I tried to stream PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, because I've got it, and I play with Gabe and some of the others, and it just doesn't like it. It's super jerky. I lose frame rates like mad. My computer just can't handle the streaming, so that idea is just straight out the window. Gabe is always lurking. I don't know how he does it, considering how little sleep he must get. He must somehow function with like a split mind when he's working, because he's up all sorts of crazy hours. Alrighty. Well, if there's nothing else, there's nothing particularly pressing or urgent or serious from people, we might call it a day. 2 hours and 18 minutes. Good run today. Once again, of course, thank you. Really appreciate it. Love all the support. And hopefully I'll actually have Kevin on tonight from his new digs in Seattle. We'll probably have a little bit of a chat about that, because he's going to also be rocking up to the Seattle meetup in a couple of weeks. He was just out drinking. Make sure you drink plenty of water. You don't want to go to bed dehydrated, Gabe, because you're going to have that terrible headache in the morning. And yeah, tomorrow sometime will be hopefully the release of our latest podcast episode as well, where we might cover goodness knows what's happening in the community over the last week. So, of course, going to end it with my usual catchphrase. Until next time, happy clacking.